What's the most body-freezing confession you've heard that someone casually throw into the open? One-to-one, I was talking to a very good friend of my now deceased father. He said that many years ago he talked my father out of murdering my mom. He believed she was cheating on him, even stalked her on the way to college with a gun in the car. She wasn't cheating. Also, they already had kids at the time. I'm 100% sure what he told me is true. Got chills thinking what my life would have been had this occurred. My mom is the greatest person I know by a mile. I'm glad she's still here. 2. When I was in prison, they had to clean out a cell after a man had been stabbed to death by his cellie. I was in the cell next to that when the guard pulled him out. Him and another were laughing about how the deceased man cried and couldn't even speak English, and that they waited to pop the doors until the attacker stopped. I still hear that when I try to sleep. 3. Playing a board game with a friend who had become a drug dealer told me that there was a night where someone had ripped him off and he and his friends went after him, leading to a car chase. The other car hit a bystander and left the victim paraplegic. He felt really guilty about it, would obsessively watch news reports of the incident over and over again. I found out he had died of alcohol poisoning about a year later. 4. A really good friend of mine had been out of contact traveling the country, hitchhiking, sleeping on random people's couches, camping out in the desert, etc., for around a year. And so when he came back, we all got together to hang out, and it basically turned into a small party. At some point, he just casually drops that he has a court date coming up and explains it was because his ex is suing him over the fact that he beat his infant daughter nearly to death sometime before he left. He then just tried to continue on with the party like nothing happened. I don't think I ever heard of anyone who was there hanging out with him again after that. I used to sell cable. You would not believe some of the stuff 70-plus-year-old people will confess to you. I asked an older woman once what streaming services she used because I was trying to recommend her an internet speed. She takes a deep sighing breath and casually goes, "My father used to sneak into mine and my sister's room at night. Mother told us to be proper girls and not air our dirty laundry to the neighborhood." I was just staring, and all I could think to say was, "So, Netflix? Hulu?" 6. At a teenage sleepover, my friend telling me the leader of their church was raping her every chance he got, and she was scared she was pregnant. We'd just been talking about Take That versus Backstreet Boys. We were 13. She'd written about it in an essay we'd been assigned that same week, and our teacher had an absolute meltdown, but in the most helpful way. She made it clear none of it was on the girl, called her parents in to help facilitate the conversation, make real sure they believed their daughter and would be doing what was needed to support her, called the police and got social services involved to get the girl into specialist treatment. Her parents drove home, and then E's father went for a little walk over to their formerly trusted family friend's place. I hear the cops came, but nobody was arrested that evening. Rural Norway rules. If you knock it off right now, then I don't have to do paperwork. Don't make me come back here. My stepfather mentioned seeing the preacher limping around on crutches, and my mom just said, "Good." There was a court case, and of course many people from the church decided the 13-year-old had seduced the grown adult and was just a dirty little slut tarnishing a good man. The judge didn't buy it for a moment, and that good man went to jail in the end. But my friend never really recovered. She tried really hard, had inpatient treatment for the anorexia and self-harm tendencies she developed from the stress. And even now, as adults, you can see that she's carrying something heavy everywhere she goes. I love you, E. None of that was on you, sweetheart. I'm so sorry that evil piece of S took so much from you. 7. My grandmother was born in 1918 in Germany. She survived heavy bombings in World War II. Our family never talked much about the bad things. If they talked about the war, it was mostly light-hearted anecdotes. I was around 9 when we were watching a documentary with my parents and grandma. It was about the bombings, and when the term firestorm came up, we kids were curious. My parents started explaining how a big fire can draw so much air that it creates a strong wind that pushes the flames even further. My grandma suddenly got that 1,000-yard stare and casually said, "I have seen people burn like torches." We said, "What?" And Grandma snapped out of it and said, "What?" I guess it had to come out, but she didn't even realize saying it. 8. A woman from South Africa I met in college and I were talking after a psych class about trauma. We were discussing how physically safe she felt in that college town and casually dropped she'd been kidnapped by a couple gang members back home, and I was visibly shocked. But when I gently asked for more info, she acted like it was just something that happened. Mentioned virtually no woman she knew growing up hadn't experienced violence in South Africa. She was the first I'd met who casually discussed coercion. Super validating since I'd experienced the same and hadn't told anyone at that point.